Alright, we're back with more NBA coverage, and in this one, I'll be covering the Cavs and Pistons version of the two greatest words in sports, as they say, Game 7. This is it. It is the game of finality. You either are winning this or you're going home. And if you're either one of these teams entering this situation, this isn't even the first experience you had with it in this playoff run. Of course, the Cavs got into this series in the first place and winning theirs against the Raptors in dominant fashion with Jarrett Allen gone ballistic on the glass and as a scorer. Meanwhile, the Pistons, of course, beat the hell out of the Magic in their series finale to get in this spot in the first place. And through a series of just back and forth issues with inconsistency all over the board, the teams in this battle find themselves here once again with one final shot to either advance to the conference finals round to face off against the Knicks or get sent packing to Cancun or wherever their destination of choice may be around the world. Maybe even outside of the country. Nevertheless, so many different things were going to have to go right. And so many different players are going to have to step up. And I kind of noted it early as well in the game. You know, we can look at the star players here and we can grill them if they don't perform well. We can give them all the praise if they do play well to close this thing out, whether they win or lose. That's fair game, and that I'm sure is going to happen in all of the different sports news and sports debate shows in the morning time and even in these wee hours of the day as of the recording of this video. Like, that's going to be the general conversation. That's what's going to take most of the attention from these particular games, right? Well, it's just as much as I was saying about the other players in this thing as well. Because the best teams out there will find a creative manner to knock at least one of them out of the game. At least one of your franchise guys is going to be a non-factor if that is the way in which they will have it. So you have to try to defer, try to see, okay, who will truly step up to the plate and take the load of pressure off of our main man so that we can still generate the proper defense or offense without having to rely solely on that one person. And that was going to be the key in this game. Now, it started about as well as it could have a little bit earlier. I mean, Dennis Jenkins is already off to it. Here's a guy from Iona, of course, getting his second consecutive start in a row and trying his best early with a pair of good three-point shots from him after he's provided a good dosage of that over the past couple games. He wasted no time and got the lead right within 2. So that was a promising sign for this Pistons team at the very least in terms of players stepping up. Now they need that elsewhere. Looking at you, Tobias Harris. Looking at you, Jalen Duren. They need it. And let's just say that, yeah, things were a little bit absent in that regard. Of course, this is just as much about the Cavs as well. And we know, of course, I was saying it before the game even started, I couldn't really trust James Harden that much in a setting like this because history suggests he has never proven to rise to the moment in these situations. And what do you know? I mean, it started out really rough for both teams, honestly, in this realm. The passes were just incredibly inaccurate. And you know it's bad when you can even have the broadcast team calling out in real time. It's not like there were a lot of turnovers early on, which was actually surprising, considering just how off-platform these passes were. I mean, just throwing them too deep. For example, the Pistons had a possession where you're getting out, you're running early, and somehow it leads to Tobias Harris having to save the ball, give it back to Cunningham at the top of the key, and then try to take it from the corner, and he eventually misses the layup here. If the pass is thrown better, that's a full-blown dunk on the other end. Instead, it just goes down as a wasted possession. Same thing for the Cavs. Just passes that are like hitting the hands, but they're just short of where they need to be at. And it just forces something incredibly inconsistent to happen on the very next maneuver. Like, you got this again from the Pistons as well. You just have a lob up for Ausar Thompson, and it just lands short of the rim. If Ausar Thompson can't dunk that ball in, that's a bit of an issue, considering how tall he is and how high he can get up with his standing vertical. There's no shot. Yet you had that happen. So just that back and forth from teams, right? Getting in this spot and just kind of really fucking up some of these passes a little bit. Like, there was just no way. And that can be a bit of a pressure thing, but at the same time, you are in the very series. You're deep into this. And these are just some very minor mistakes just constantly piling up over and over and over again. You want to find a way to rid yourself of that as the game goes on. Harden, overall, it just was not a great start for him or a great performance. And so they had to find other ways to get creative. As I was noting, like, it felt at times early in this game, you want him to get that ISO gang shit going. He did not have it. So is somebody else going to touch the ball? Is somebody else going to create something that can help out Harden and maybe alleviate a load of pressure from a man who is clearly feeling all of it each and every single time he steps foot into a game like this? Well, I suppose in that I spoke too soon. And I should have just, like, shut my fucking ass up. Because they proceeded to truly get that elsewhere. On the one end, although Donovan Mitchell himself was actually dealing with foul trouble a little bit. And at times in this game, even when they were starting to get more momentum going, he just had to sit out because of that danger. Same thing with James Harden. Nevertheless, as this first quarter went on, you had guys like Dean Wade step up and hit some big-time shots, and it's good to see from him. I mean, he is mainly out there to shoot in a way, but he was also smart, getting in a nice backdoor cut to increase the lead a little bit. And while the Pistons themselves had a very brief run, that would be all she wrote, because it would be Sam Merrill. Yes, the Sam Merrill. Who cares about fucking James Harden when we have Sam Merrill, right? He stepped up and started just splashing from deep. Just beating Duncan Robinson at every single punch. And it's like, with those late rotations that Robinson was generating, how the hell do you expect anything different from your fellow sharpshooting mate here? There's no way that you are getting exposed like this. But they started, at that point in time, working the ball around the court tremendously well. And it felt like by the time it hit an open shooter, they had all the space in the world to make them pay. That is a great display of ball movement from the Cavs, and I'll get to that in a second, because it continued, especially with some of the passes in close range that Donovan Mitchell himself was generating. Even if the scoring wasn't completely there, the pressure that he created simply by getting 2 feet inside the paint and trying to slash, enough concentration came his way to where the defenders were gazing at him directly. You're attracting them in an upwards motion, but you have a front court man like Evan Mobley, like Jared Allen, and they got multiple buckets off of that in just a short time span by simply generating those looks and getting just simple but highly effective shots at the rim that they could do nothing about. While the Pistons did try to shorten the lead just a little bit, of course Donovan Mitchell had to eventually rise back up for his patented buzzer-beaten jump shot at the end of the first quarter to give them the 31-22 lead at that point. Then, things just got Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Again, there weren't a lot of turnovers. It was revealing, though, that the Cavs, at that point in time, by the end of the first quarter, they already had 10 assists, and they had the 5-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio. 5-to-1. For a team and for players individually who have been struggling to get anything over a 1-to-1 ratio in that aspect of the game. So clearly there was something to it. Hey, we still want to make sure that we are getting the ball in the hands of our primary facilitators. But man, if we going to swing the ball around like this, and we're going to have those open shooters continue to knock it down, then by all means, go ahead, we're balling. Same thing for the Pistons as well, and they were noting this at different points in the game. It's like, with the way in which these shots were coming off, you would expect a normal Pistons defense from what they've done this season to be so far up on that and try to make things as difficult as possible. Dare I say that they didn't have a sense of urgency in this game. But there were moments and defensive lapses where it's like, you've been making this play all season long. And now in the biggest moment of this, you don't really have a feel for the game. You're losing all sense of spatial awareness out on the court. Like, that's just, it's a rough time to have that happen. But hey, they were still somewhat fine. It was still a 5-point game within the first minute of the second quarter. So seemingly, they were okay. Wrong. The Cavs just started going to fucking town on this team. They defensively were so close to pretty much every single Pistons ball handler that they barely had any room to breathe. And whenever they did try to get up shots, you had Mobley and Allen on multiple occasions either swat the hell out of them or alter the shot trajectory like it was nothing. And Ausar Thompson would get them back on at least one occasion, but that didn't do any good because every single possession felt like they were just generating terrible look after terrible look. And yes, there were some cases where, it's maybe the shots aren't falling. When you have Paul Reed out here shooting a fucking fadeaway jumper, and he's the last guy touching the ball in a possession, like, I'm going to live with that. That is going to be an automatic win for the Cavs. And you had possessions like that continue to pile up for this Pistons team. Not to mention with the way they just were very sloppy with the basketball in their hands. And you have to credit the Cavs for not allowing a guy like Cunningham to get going like that. There's no reason why at multiple times, including one time in the second quarter, somehow, some way, the ball just travels from Cunningham's arms right into the lap of Jarrett Allen. And granted, on this possession, he's literally sitting on the ground, laid out, and he somehow generates a steal from a very poor Cunningham pass. Like, I couldn't believe it. I just had to make sure that that is what I saw on Prime. Like, I just had to make sure I was seeing that in real time, because there's no excuse for that in that moment. And the fact that it happened again is even crazier. Now, at the very least, the Pistons, in some cases, it's not like they were letting things get it too out of hand. Yet, after a while, though, when you're finding yourself in that rut of not being able to generate points and then having the game slow down because you are allowing so many free possessions on the other end, and they got themselves in foul trouble, a lot of it, because the Cavs were just getting to the free throw line at will. They went on a run of essentially 10-0, and then it continued to extend, even as the Pistons tried to get some life back with LeVert making his three-pointer. It didn't matter, because they had Sam Merrill just continuing to be automatic. You eventually had this man jump off a fucking screen, beating Duncan Robinson to his spot again and getting a foul call for a landing space violation and a 4-point play in his favor. Like, they just were on it all game long, and it didn't even feel like they were slowing down. By the time we got to this point, even with back-to-back turnovers, you still had the Cavs just get to the free throw line. Were they efficient? Hell no. But they were doing everything the Pistons wanted to do. Being as aggressive as ever. Getting to the free throw line. Generating good looks inside the paint. And doing it enough to where their outside shot started to really trickle down. They mentioned that pretty much the team with the more accurate three-point shooting won every single game in the series. And with the Cavs entering this as the better three-point shooting team, it felt like in the first few games, especially the first couple, they were waiting for something like this to happen for them because they always had that quality. And then they just lost that luster the second the Pistons rolled into town to face off against them. However, they'd been summoning bits and pieces of that over the past three, and it culminated in this display right here. You get all that to say this team, after it was a 31-26 ball game, they went on essentially a 21-5 run in just the second quarter. And it just continued. I mean, even with the Pistons getting a slight run, they couldn't string it together for long enough. The offense was just not clicking. Tobias Harris, for as good of a second option as he had been, was not even remotely efficient. And there will be something to be said about that. But that was your secondary option. His ability to work in the post, and granted, he still tried. They were much better about staying disciplined on that. Even with him trying to exploit James Harden, it didn't work. And then he promptly got that karma with Jarrett Allen, just again putting this team into such a bind at the line. Like, that kind of bully ball right there from Jarrett Allen is just not something that you're always expecting from him, being a pure defender at times and being labeled as such. But man, it must just be something about him being involved in these elimination style games. Because here we are in 2026, and yet again, he is truly putting forth a well-needed effort on both sides of the ball to try to spur this Cavs team to victory. So they could very much use that. And this is all without Donovan Mitchell having to go ballistic. This is all without James Harden having to go ballistic. Because when you have guys like Mobley, Merrill, and Allen stepping up to that extent and putting forth good scoring efforts as well, you really just don't even worry all that much about it. You don't mind it as much because it isn't affecting you. The winning aspect and being on that kind of shooting stretch, that cures a lot of the ailments they would face and a lot of the statements you could make about those performances, especially Harden's. Meanwhile, for the Pistons, this was still not out of reach. Yes, it was a bad score, and they had a very short run. For them, though, to only be down by the end of the half, 64-47, it wasn't the worst possible thing in the world. You know, there was still a lot of game time left, and you just needed to, if you were them, on the one end, man, you got to stop drawing fouls. They were not efficient. Again, I'm telling you, they were not efficient from the free throw line, and if they were, this could have been so much worse. But all those missed opportunities made things a lot easier for you. You were still nearly down 20, but you had to come out of this guns blazing. You could not allow the Cavs to keep putting you in submission like this. And even the broadcast team with Van Gundy, even he was alluding to, the notion that, hey, I'm expecting this team to come out on fire in the second half. And they got to play with that level of intensity to at least make this thing competitive. And then you proceed to have Donovan Mitchell run out for an open fucking layup in literally the first few seconds of the second half. Are we fucking serious? This team, despite having that rigid defense all season long, it had just been constantly getting exposed in this game. And you just add more fuel to the fire by allowing Donovan Mitchell to do that. Like, oh, dear, it was not good. They gave up an 8-2 run to start out the second half, for crying out loud. Literally, like, you can't make that up. You can't make that up. And this third quarter, it was really the Cavs just trying as hard as they could to close it out. I mean, Tobias Harris still could not get a shot to fall. And the key for the Cavs overall was, hey, if this entire thing is going to run through Cunningham, then we're going to make him feel us all game long. We're not even going to give this man an inch. Because as I was recently seeing, hey, when it is all said and done, Cunningham, in terms of total points, leading playoff scorer. By far. This team goes as he does. And while they were able to mitigate some of that with their own bench pieces, stepping up in Game 6 and getting them to a win, leading them to a victory with some much needed support, they were willing to bank on the idea that, hey, they got to do this in an elimination game now with the entire season on the line. All the pressure is going to mostly be on them, and we are going to ensure that this is the case. We're not going to allow Cade Cunningham to take this over and lead this team by himself. And he did not. You see, all these other things are probably somewhat glossed over a little less if Cade Cunningham was allowed to be a bit more efficient. He was not even remotely. He had been turnover prone, and really, when it came to that, again, the ones were questionable. Like, again, he had another sequence where you're just giving the ball away with such a free pass to the defense, all right? Like, that kind of shit cannot happen. I understand that. They truly made him uncomfortable. Even when he got shots up, he was never settled into the game. And that's rare to say about Cade Cunningham. It's more of a testament to what the Cavs were doing in throwing multiple bodies at him in terms of closing off the paint at times. He still tried to draw fouls, and that's where he had to settle for some of his points. But for the most part, they were successful in that. And it's not about Cade Cunningham having an off night. Not even remotely. Like, this is all work done by the Cavs here. And that, above everything else, kept this game so far out of reach. Because with the onus being on everyone else to at least put together a few more points, barely anybody else could. Aside from your occasional Duncan Robinson 3. Which, to his credit, he'd been a great three-point shooter this entire series. And there was a brief moment in time where, with that shooting, they were able to shorten the lead just a little bit. Despite everything that had been going down in what was a back-and-forth third quarter, and in one where Donovan Mitchell actually had to be subbed back out for Sam Merrill because he was deep in foul trouble, they got this lead back within 16 after falling down by even more points in the third quarter. So again, not necessarily out of reach, but your margin for error was very slim. The thing is, even with Duncan Robinson doing that on the offensive end, there were still just situations where wide open passes are being given up through, again, just sheer sheer focus on drawing out these defenders and making them pay for that open space each and every single time. And it just got exhausting after a while. Sam Merrill was still able to just light this damn defense up. And in a normal setting, again, you're thinking, whoa, hey, we're nearly about to foul out Donovan Mitchell, and we got to deal with Sam Merrill? Oh, we'll certainly live with that. No, not so fast. Not so fast. Because even when he was subbed into the game, Cavs did not lose a beat. They kept pouring it on. As the Pistons defense themselves was also dealing with foul trouble. Jalen Duren, again, mind you, I haven't brought him up a single time. Because he was another one of those players who were not even remotely effective and who was getting beaten. And I mean beaten badly. Physically and mentally on the defensive end. It was atrocious. Hell, one of the final buckets that he gave up would tell you everything you need to know. Like, you're just getting caught in between having to make a choice, and they just toy around with him. Jarrett Allen still gets the layup. Right past him. With no wasted step at all, no ounce of hesitation in what they were planning to do, because they didn't fear Jalen Duren in that moment. And that's why I say, by the end of this, I don't know, the will of this Pistons team at a point was just completely broken. Like, you talk about that, I mean, my goodness. Everything that their identity rather consists of. The rugged play on defense. The grit and grind style on offense. Having Cade Cunningham generate a lot of those looks. Being able to get out in transition and run the floor. All those things were completely non-existent in this game. And the Cavs were enacting that same kind of measure on them. Like I said, Mitchell was about to foul out of this game. And he still eased his way in this entire third quarter to a 13-point outing. He still eased his way into that performance in that quarter alone, despite the trouble he was facing. And they had an 11-3 run to close things out. So by the end of it, despite coming into this and with me really thinking they were going to win, the Cavs got the dub 125-94 to advance to the conference finals round against the Knicks. To my surprise, they actually did it. And you know what? They played like they deserved to be in that spot. And there is no complaint that one could bring up about them being in there. I mean, yes, there was something going around that, hey, they did broadcast like a commercial for the Knicks versus the Cavs in the conference finals, advertising game 1 on television accidentally, and I guess that is an honest mistake, right? I'm sure that there was something lined up for the Pistons if they were to be the team advancing too, because those things are going to take days to produce and days to actually broadcast on TV itself. So I can see how a mistake would be made there, and I'm sure there was something prepped for the Pistons if they were to be the winners in this. But it leaked out, and while they stood their ground, would it have been awkward? Yes, but they clearly dominated this game. So for them to have that out there, I mean, shit, you can't be surprised at that point. They earned it. In this game, they shot 50.6% from the field on the exact same amount of shot attempts from the floor with 85 as the Pistons had. And again, I'll focus on the Cavs first. To give them some light here and try to be like quicker in regards to that, because they earned it. You've been ragging on them for that much time, so you got to turn it around here and try to give them some respect. They were that efficient from the floor. And again, a lot of it was a testament to how exactly they were moving around the ball. Everybody was touching it. And when you look at the end result, the Cavs quite literally had more assists than the Pistons had made field goals, with 31. Just think about that. They had 31 assists on 43 made field goals, while the Pistons had just 30 as a team. That is just exceptional play on that end of the floor. And you compare that to 11 turnovers. Some of those are just garbage time. Some of those are just silly. And no matter how you slice it, you have that large of a difference and that great of a ratio in that department after struggling to attain that through virtually the first 6 games of the series. Like, that was a hell of a time to unlock that. And it truly could not have come at a better point for them. They also had more overall rebounds. And even some of that is garbage time. The way they were playing, especially in, that third quarter sequence on the glass, like, that said a lot. That said a lot to me about the mentality that they had coming into this game. They were on an absolute mission to leave it all out on the floor and have the Pistons walk away from this truly regretting getting into this prolonged battle with them. Now, again, it's a game 7, so like, you worked that hard to get here, but we're gonna punch you in the mouth. You can't stop us, and you can't stop us once we have all our shit going the right way. You ain't gonna stop us. Try if you want. You're not going to. They also, again, beat the Pistons at their own game. Dominated them in the paint. Dominated them. A 58-34 advantage in that regard. So, just an all-around great performance from them. My main focus, dude, is, again, Jarrett Allen. They showcased it again through a graphic. The man is averaging fucking 22.5 points and like 13 rebounds in just game 7s in this playoff run. Like, the amount of growth that you have to show as a player of his kind, with all those noted playoff struggles early on, and to overcome them repeatedly over in the first game, and now once again in this particular matchup. It has been a large difference maker for this team. And so, again, to have in this game 23 points and 7 rebounds while getting to the free throw line that much, like, he literally could have had 30 if he would have made at least a higher number of his free throws. And he showcases, well, hey, I'm a defensive-minded guy for a reason as well, logging a steal and a block in this game too. So you're sticking to your strength, but you are also rising far above those expectations and making those timely plays to keep that Pistons defense honest and then all out of sorts, trying to game plan for you. Like, that did everything it needed to in order to provide them with just an extra piece and an extra threat in that moment, rather than having to make this just the Donovan Mitchell and James Harden show. And then you get into the other guys as well who really had a hell of a game, because 4 different players scored 20 points or more in this game for the Cavs, including Donovan Mitchell. But I'm more impressed with what the guys around them were able to do, even on nights where both of them were not at their best. Sam Merrill, for example, off the bench in 25 minutes, the sharpshooter that he is, he had 23 points on 7 of 10 shooting with 5 threes on 62.5% shooting from deep. He was just automatic. Like, there were multiple plays where it's just swinging all the way over to the corner, and even then, the Pistons are still too late to it. You know that a shooter of his caliber is going to punish those at will, and he just could not miss in that game. Also, Evan Mobley as well, doing great work as a facilitator out of the post, and also using his own length and seemingly apparent strength to his advantage. Because he himself had 21 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks, with just 2 turnovers on 7 of 10 shooting as well. And he also, at will, got to the free throw line. Much to the chagrin of J.B. Bickerstaff in some cases. Understandably so. But when Mobley is able to harness that, there isn't much that you can do about it. Man has already shown his force as a DPOY, which is what got him the raise on his current contract extension now. So he already has that in the bag. And if he can continue to round out his offensive game, because these are things that the Cavs have really tried to work towards in having him develop from season to season. They want him to be more of an offensive threat. And if he, again, is going to do that for you, then, man, that's going to pay dividends. Especially facilitating to that level. It just gives you such an advantage. Knowing that a player of Mobley's size, as a passer, is going to see over most of the players that he is lining up against. Even if they want to by chance throw someone smaller on him to keep up with him laterally, that's not going to matter if he can fire off an accurate pass while seeing over the entire defense in most cases. Also, Donovan Mitchell, again, with that fucking crazy stretch in the third quarter, he still finished this game with 26 points. 10 of 22 shooting isn't necessarily flashy. It doesn't jump off the page. But he also had 8 assists and no turnovers. A lot of them going to Mobley and Allen as well in short range. Just for, again, highly accurate shots. They didn't need to really worry about all the flash. It was about the fundamental basketball for them. And that is what won them the game outright. I can say again that James Harden, shit the bed. We knew he was going to shit the bed. He did have 9 points on 2 of 10 shooting in this game. And man, would the optics of that be very bad if the Cavs were to have lost this game. The thing is, they played that well elsewhere. And those role players stepped up, hit those shots, made those plays on both sides of the ball, with Max Strus still giving them surprisingly good defense. In the midst of all this, they played well enough to where that Harden shit wasn't much of a problem. And it didn't have to be. They still had one of the largest Game 7 road wins of all time, with the largest actually being the then Philadelphia Warriors against the Cardinals, the St. Louis Hawks rather, in 1948. How am I getting that mixed up? St. Louis Hawks. But yes, you'd have to go all the way back then to a particular Game 7 road victory that was that dominant. And the Cavs nearly got it. They did the smart thing by subbing a lot of their guys out late, because again, you don't want to risk anybody getting injured, especially for this next game. But man, to be in those positions, having everyone say those things about you, and having all those narratives lined up, and granted the Harden thing still rung true, it didn't matter. They phased it all out. And now this team is in the Eastern Conference Finals rather, for the first time since 2018, when LeBron was there, of course. Also, for James Harden, it would technically be his first conference finals appearance since 2018 as well. And in that regard, Donovan Mitchell also. Hell of a moment for him. Even if he, again, had not had the strongest series in this overall matchup, this is also his first Eastern Conference Finals, Conference Finals appearance, overall, in his 9-year NBA career. He never even sniffed a Conference Finals appearance before. And this is the caliber of playoff performer we're talking about. This is going to be the first time you're hearing the name Donovan Mitchell called in this series just before the NBA Finals. And especially for the hardcore Donovan Mitchell fans out there, that's something that I know that people are truly excited about in that regard. Truly. I mean, you are still dealing with a guy in Donovan Mitchell who did lead the team in scoring by far in this series. Now again, 3-point accuracy for him was poor. He shot just 28.8% in this overall series, despite making 45% of his shots and despite logging 8.1 points per game in this series. So heading into it, he'll most certainly have to be better about that. And I think he recognizes that moving forward. They were also making a really good point about how, as a playmaker, you may need more out of Donovan Mitchell. That much could be true. At the same time, this is kind of why James Harden is there, right? As long as Donovan Mitchell is playing strong off the ball, and as long as James Harden is actually protecting the basketball, then you can live with that trade-off. Because, as he would say, Harden himself is the system. And so, in most other cases, outside of the Game 6 action, outside of the Game 7 action, outside of that, you would be trusting in him to handle those responsibilities. It's just absolutely insane. But, yeah. This could be intriguing, to say the least. Talking about the upcoming series that they will now have against the Knicks, with that starting on Tuesday. So tomorrow, as of the recording of this video. And I mean, here you have a Cavs team reeling off of a performance like that in Game 7. Yet, the notion of having this series prolonged in the first place could lead to some early exhaustion. The Knicks, of course, they did the same thing to the damn 76ers in just Game 1 of this same round. The Cavs themselves, they won that battle against the Raptors, blew them out a little bit, and then got themselves wrapped up into a very competitive but uneventful Game 1, with that ending in a loss to this Pistons team, as they were still struggling to win it on the road. And so the Cavs, once again, they're going to have to face this Knicks team in the Garden to start this series out. It's going to be a challenge. You just never know what you're truly going to get. And that's what could make this series so special. Both of these teams have had their stretches of inconsistency throughout this season. And it's not even a joke. The both of them. The Cavs are coming off of multiple road wins in a row just to secure the spot in the first place. And so you, from that standpoint, could say they're battle tested a little bit, and that they do have what it takes, even in a hostile crowd, to go out and get the win. But at the same time, are you going to look at that sample size, or are you going to look at what the overall run has told you? You could pick anyone you wanted to, and still you won't be left with any clear answers here in regard to how they can truly manage that. They're going to have to make the attempt to, though. I know that for certain. Overall, Donovan Mitchell, in terms of his standards, this is a bit of a down playoff run for him. So they'll most certainly try to resuscitate that a little bit. Although they will probably line one of the wings up against him. So I'm not sure how easy that will be. I would probably say that Harden. I guess for him, Mikal Bridges would try to get a matchup on James Harden. Or Josh Hart might try to do it. They're going to try to, they're going to try to hide Jalen Brunson from either of those two. And the Cavs will most certainly look to seek him out. But if they can have it their way, it's going to be Hart and Bridges involved in that the entire time. Like, I wouldn't even doubt that for a second. Seriously, though, these teams have got their work cut out for them, truly. But the Cavs, they, again, are very much in the land of opportunity now to try to extend this thing all the way out. And so that is all that they can ask for in a situation like this. And they got it in style. They truly blew this team out of the water. And they did not have this come down to a photo finish. Which honestly, for them, may be a little better than having to do so in order to just barely win, squeak by, and advance to a new series in less than an optimal amount of resting time. Man. Oh man, oh man. And then moving on to the Pistons, man. Honestly, like there's a lot to be said. I think one of the main things that really jumps out to me for this goes beyond even what the numbers would say and what the hell I saw out there from this team. Man, and this is a byproduct of them being such a young team too, really being in this position. The way in which the frustration built up over this game was just actually wild to see play out. And yes, by the time that we get late into this game and you're already trailing by that much, it's bound to settle in. They did not handle themselves well on the court. They didn't handle themselves well. Like, it's one thing to go out there and play reckless, to make plays on the court. Why does Ausar Thompson need to literally run over Sam Merrill for the second straight game? Early. What does that need to happen for? Why does he need to call out the referees and call them a name and get teed up when he's already down by 21 at the end of the third quarter? And then it carries over into another run that gets this Cavs team on an even greater path, knowing what was out in front of them. Like, this is the same team that had a 33-6 run in at least a quarter in this particular playoff run. It was still a 21-point game. Again, the odds are very low, but all the little things just adding up like that did not even remotely help this team. And then you get Isaiah Stewart with just a random foul for some reason in this stretch as well at this time. With the game nearly over, understandably, again, it's going to settle in, but you have got to be able to manage that so much better in their position. And with more experience, that is something that they could learn. But it was just very counterintuitive, rather, to have that happen during this time. And just like the game itself, I mean, my goodness. When I tell you that I literally saw this team just demoralized, completely I meant it. I mean, you literally had a possession here where, dude, I just did not understand where the hell the actual mentality to win was at. And at least put up a fair fight. Like, you get a stretch in a row here where after James Harden gets to the free throw line, misses a shot, they draw another foul that gives Cleveland the ball back. And Jared Allen gets one shot. He misses it and somehow gets back his own rebound. Quite literally puts another shot up, gets another offensive rebound, and then draws another foul, and then nearly got to it once again. And that was after they had already picked up a very long rebound to start that entire chain reaction of events. It'd be the Pistons trying to outboard and outmuscle defenders like that. And here you have Jared Allen just playing with his food down low, doing what he was paid to do as a big man. That was just a very revealing sequence to watch. And it just sticks out like a sore thumb. And that's before you even get into anything else about the game. Because that right there told me everything that I needed to know about how this was going to end up. Then you get into all this stuff later with, again, just open shots piling up for this Cavs team over and over and over again with a defense that is usually on top of it. They lost it in this one. They lost it. And the Cavs, again, they were able to truly outpace this Pistons team, which was great for them. Pistons are going to want to play an ugly brand of basketball. And in any other context, a style like this could work. Because when you're slowing down a game like that overall, you are going to trust yourself to at least get other second chance opportunities on the board, even if you do miss. This Cavs team was like clockwork on each and every single possession, finding the highest percentage look imaginable. That team settled into a groove that the Pistons could not knock them out of. Had no real ability to do it. Because they were far outside of their element here. And the Pistons, as a result, lost big time. It did not help matters as well that, just generally speaking, I mean, my goodness. Some of the numbers matter for this point, but there are going to be some crazy conversations about who they try to pair up with Cunningham on this team moving forward. There are going to be a lot of questions to ask and a lot of answers to try to sort through. Because, my goodness, like, this game was the culmination of everything. Like, when we say that it was just Cade and them playing out there, man, this game right here was no joke about that. No joke about it. Again, the most valuable contributors, like Duncan Robinson, for example, he finishes this series as by far the best three-point shooter on the team by accuracy, making, let me see. I went back too far. But yeah, he shot somewhere around 55% from three in this series. And also made by far the most total in the entire team. Especially in the wins. When he was lining up the floor, you felt his presence out there. And it was highly valuable. Especially in the offensive end when they needed that punch. He gave it to them. So you can't put much on him there. Harris Levert also gave them 11 points, though was turnover prone himself with just a silly one, where he's trying so hard to create a dribble move that he loses it as he's crossing over towards the baseline, and then that results in a shot clock violation. Like, that that can't happen. Cunningham himself shot 5 of 16 for 13 points on 0 of 7 shooting. Again, we are going to, talk about it a little bit when they lose. Winning changes everything in Harden's case. And here you have Cunningham on the same side, contributing to some of the same issues, with virtually no help consistently enough to mitigate that damage. Like I tell you, Dennis Jenkins, for example, he had those 2 3-pointers in the first quarter of the game, did not make a single one after, and shot 4 of 12 from the field for 17 points. Like, you in his spot are going to have to be far more accurate than that just to stay alive in this game, let alone win it. And having all of that go down just hurt them even worse. Marcus Sasser, for example, at the bench, he had 3 3-pointers as well, but shot 3 of 12 from the floor for his 9 points. Amen Thompson as well is still just going through his own struggles as an offensive unit. But you're willing to take that kind of frustration out on Sam Merrill. Like, no, there's no way that in this kind of game you can go 2 of 7 from the floor, knowing that you're barely going to shoot 3-pointers. And no, yeah, he was the one that actually made that buzzer beater at the end of the first half. They left him wide open again, and he airballed it. It's just not consistent enough with this Pistons team right now. And again, as they grow, as they get older, they can most certainly learn. But right now, with it being their second season, they got owned. They got incredibly owned in this series by this team. And it was never left in question from there. But man, oh man, oh man. Tobias Harris, in this damn game, proceeded to have 0 points. 0. Well, not even 0 points, rather. Let me correct that. Made field goals. All 5 of the points he scored in this game came from the free throw line. And that was it. That was all. I mean, my goodness, man. Like, you have got to be shitting me. 5 points in 23 minutes of play. And he was in foul trouble a little bit, so he couldn't play all that much. He shot 5 of 6 from the free throw line. And did not make a single shot outside of that area of the court. It was insane. And for the entire series, again, they'd be looking to him, especially after how he closed Game 7 against Orlando, they'd be looking to him as a secondary option in a sense. And to his credit, he sort of was. But for you to shoot 39% from the floor and 29% from deep is highly inefficient. Ineffective come playoff time. Like, there has to be a recognition of that somewhat. And he must not have gotten the memo here. Also, Jalen Duren, man, I tell you, bro. I tell you, man. I tell you, bro. He's still just completely wasted away in this series. You still have to actively try to figure out what happened here. Not to disparage him, but again, at some point I'm saying, like, hey, this is going to be your game right here. You've got to step up and show them what they're missing out. You have to step up and show this team what you are capable of. And he never did. As we're waiting and waiting for that ball game to go down, outside of Game 6, he had been quiet mostly everywhere else. And we finished this game with 7 points on 7 shots as a big man, shooting primarily floaters and layups. He went 3 of 7 from the field. Like, yo. Oh my gosh. That's unreal to me. And I'm clamoring for him. I'm thinking that, hey, he can pull through and get himself a just genuine, like the fact that we got to that position is just it's wild. It's wild, man. But hey, like I said, they will have to do some soul searching after this particular game. Like, I mean, there were reports for some reason about them, the Pistons, going after a secondary scoring option like either of Trey Murphy III, and even Larry Markkinen was a name thrown in there. That would just be absolutely crazy from Markkinen's end. They wanted to block out the trade that could have sent him to Golden State because he signed the deadline on that day of to prevent it from happening. And now the Jazz may still try to sell him once again if the Pistons have the right offer lined up for them. And also if they just play a solid amount of defense in general. Like, this wouldn't be much of an issue at all. At all. Now, adding a player like that solely to create offensively could be solid. Trey Murphy III would be a little cheaper, and I'd have to think that's where the Pistons would want to go, considering you have paid Cade Cunningham this contract extension, and you may still be in the market to give Jalen Duren something. Because granted, players like him, players like Austin Reeves, were clamoring for damn near Supermax level contracts. I don't think he's earned himself that, but they will still try to keep him around for a little bit. I can't imagine that he'd be going anywhere. But performances like these just cannot be replicated in future seasons for him. Because you don't want something like that to become a pattern. You just don't. And man, it just would change so much for this Pistons team. Because once they phased Cade Cunningham out of this, that was all that she wrote. Literally. There was nothing more that they had left to give. Simply because Cade Cunningham was without much efficiency, especially from deep. He missed all 7 of his 3-point attempts in this game. And knowing that this is your franchise guy being built around performing like this, it just does not really appease you at all. It doesn't. So, from their end, they are a team that, with all that being said, man, they were on such a rise over the past couple of seasons. And the only way to continue going for this Pistons team is up. Now, again, do you want them to be a 1 seed facing elimination the amount of times that they did in this playoff run? Hell no. But they have a young enough roster to where, hey, if they continue to do the right things, they're going to be in it for an absolute long haul. And that's the Pistons. That's the way they have to carry themselves heading into this free agency cycle and, I guess, the general offseason. Because after these next couple series, we're going to be in that as it is. Between the draft, like it's just all winding down now. As with this coming to a close, our conference finals matches are set. The Spurs and the Timberwolves will be later on tonight, while the Cavs and the Knicks will be on tomorrow. As for me, that'll do it for this one, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.